Anyway, so let's get going. If anyone wants to,
Let's go for it.
let's go for it. Yeah, we already have a few people sharing this screen. There's not much to show right now, but yeah, what are some things that spring to mind with those words?
What is everybody thinking? You can either write it in or you can talk.
Everybody's on mute right now.
Yeah, it's like or write it in the chat.
If y'all want to, if you want to unmute, you know what I'm saying, at this point, have a conversation. Let us know how your day was. Right now.
Hello.
Hello.
What's happening?
Melissa's board is already dope. I'm looking.
So what came to mind was the ancient Moors, and so I'm gonna do probably like a little tarot card inspired of a Moor, because I feel like that's not brought to the front a lot in a lot of art. On the rich glamorous culture of Moors.
Yeah, awesome. I dig it.
Like they're like, gold chain, I got a gold armor plate. So yeah.
I love this. Let's see what. And is anybody doing? Do we have anybody doing any creatures?
No.
Absolute hater.
No. This guy, what's wrong? What do you think he was doing?
Oh wait, how do you share video?
The bottom button, green button with the
gotcha. Or screen share rather. Okay.
And then at the top, when you go in, when you guys are looking, you can cycle through everybody's screens. I am just setting mine up, and then I can start.
Someone said that's dancing music, Rachel. Yeah. It's so true.
I think we should have a new rule. Every time that goes off, we all get up and dance really quickly. Just sit back in our seat.
Totally down. Do it. How's everybody's Lightbox been going so far too?
Amazing. So far, the experience has been pretty great.
Good. Oh, hey, Omar.
Done.
Yeah, good. I'm glad that you're enjoying it. I think Lightbox has just been, it's pretty interesting to me how much they were able to capture in Lightbox, even as a virtual experience, how fun it is. Because, in person, it was like one of the best experiences. But still the community coming together in this little bit of time that we have, and kind of having all these panels and sessions, workshops and all that. It's been pretty good. Hope you guys are enjoying it, and I hope you are encouraging other people to enjoy it as well. Andre says, greeting from Colombia. What's up, man? How are you?
Hi, hello everyone. I'm happy to be here again.
We're happy to have you. Andre said he's working with us at 9B as well. And we're happy to have him.
Anna's here too, super dope artist. She's super good.
Excellent. Hello, Anna. I'm seeing who else is here. We got Barry.
Okay, I see you, Barry.
Harris and Reggie.
I'm trying, but my internet is completely falling because I don't have electricity. The only thing I have is electricity in my house, and that's it.
Oh no.
See, Barry's taking inspiration, obviously, from my cut. I see the screen right here. You know what I mean?
That ain't it. I've been had that cut, man. Come on now.
Nah, bro. Just roll with me, bro. Just roll with me, bro.
All right, I got you.
We talked about this. Let's just have a little side conversation. You know what I'm saying?
You can't have everything, okay? You can't have everything. I gotta have something.
Yeah.
Something.
Wow.
This is Clip. I never actually seen what that program looks like.
Oh, Clip.
Clip is awesome.
Yeah. I heard it's good for line work, yeah?
Which one?
Clip Studio.
Oh, yeah. It's
the
best.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Guys. Oh my God. For like line work or comic books, God tier. I love it so much.
Yeah, sketching in it too feels really nice. I like to do it with sketching and with pen work, because the pen tool in this thing is really it's super nice.
I have not tried this one yet. Is it just like an app? You just download it and just get to town?
Yeah. Well, and yeah, and then also they have a ton of assets. They even have like 3D models.
Really?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I think Reggie and Brandon were telling me about that too.
Oh, that's right.
they have full 3D classrooms and buildings, and of course physical models and props, and like a lot of stuff that you can just literally just drag and drop in there.
So why use Photoshop? Like now I'm trying to understand, like,
and then
Still love Photoshop though.
yeah. So is it like mainly, would you say like Photoshop brushes are better or just different?
I think it's just different in the terms of what you can do. Like I've never photo bashed in this. Photo bashing in Photoshop is just way simpler and easier. I'm
Right.
still trying to get used to the interface of this. So regular sketching and regular drawing I do in here. But when it comes to, and I'm even trying to do coloring in here as well and mess with the brushes. I like the way Photoshop brushes are set up, but you can load, I think, those brushes into Clip Studio now.
Oh shit.
I think you can. But I'm so used to Photoshop's interface. I have all my short keys set up and stuff. So when I want to get some really good, like dope line work, I come in Clip Studio.
Yeah, I've got all my Photoshop brushes loaded up into Clip Studio. It was easy drag and drop.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, see, now I'm really starting to doubt my use of Photoshop. Darker and darker on this side.
I gotta say, Photoshop has been driving me crazy, so I'm down to try something else. Like Photoshop has been so glitchy.
I think you mentioned it before, Phil, where you're like, they upgrade the worst things, and
they're like, guess what? We changed how you open Photoshop, and they're like, nobody asked for that. Like, why'd you do that?
Yeah.
Like, nobody asked for that. They're like, well, they're paying us every month, or you're paying us every month, so we have to change stuff. I'm like, nobody asked for this. Like, I didn't ask you to change things I've been doing for 20 years. I'm asking you, hey, can I get better brushes, or can I get better, a better warp tool, or can I get a better, like, can you expand on the stuff you're already doing? I was using what's that program called? Canva. I was using just basic Canva to do like mood boards and stuff like that. Canva's got a tool where literally you can have your photograph, you click a button and says remove background, and it actually does it. I'm like,
clean too.
What would be awesome? Maybe Photoshop could do that. Like, but nope, Photoshop says I'm gonna create a new option for how you save JPEGs. I'm like, nobody asked for that. Like, I didn't ask you to change that. I didn't need that at all. And everything is like requiring you to go back. You're like, okay, since I don't like this, I have to revert back to the legacy settings.
Yeah.
I'm just like, why don't you just keep the legacy settings and then give an option that says, if you want to do this some stupid broke way, then switch it here. Like, I hate it. As like, so now I'm starting to get really frustrated.
It's always hilarious hearing you like get frustrated because it allows me to see what Phil looks like as an old man. Like, just like
I couldn't ask for this. My old man candies, my Werther's originals, my orthotics.
Orthotics.
Yeah.
Hey Phil, I showed up.
Hey Emojine. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
I think one of the things that Clip Studio Paint doesn't have that Photoshop has is some of the filters and some of the things that Photoshop has with the manipulation tools and stuff.
Right. I guess that makes sense too, because Photoshop is like primarily photo, right? So that's like kind of important to my process.
It also doesn't let you preview the filters like Photoshop does.
Yeah, that's a weird thing.
I actually love that because it makes you make your decision quicker.
Right.
I have the hardest time with the hue selection. Like, it doesn't change on my screen until I accept it. That's what I don't like about it.
Yeah, I noticed that too. That's I'd rather have it to where I can see it and because I don't know, I make better choices when I can actually see things.
I thought I was just an old school artist that didn't know what he was doing.
I think I might switch to Photoshop. never done thumbnails in Clip Studio just yet. Maybe I'll try it.
Switch over.
Does anyone want to talk us through their what they're working on? We have like Andres in, Barry, James, Jaslyn, Melissa, Sherman. What are you guys working on? What are you feeling tonight?
Man, I don't even know.
So I might sketch on this. I had an idea for an IP, so I'm doing some character designing for it. But I kind of want to jump on this prompt though. This prompt seems really fun, and I've been wanting to draw something like a warrior of some sort. And so drawing a warrior with a kind of ancient twist to it might be neat.
Yeah, I think I'm going the same way. I'm like an African king, like kind of like a villain, like a tyrant, something like that.
Yeah, same. I think I have a whole story in mind. There's one story in particular that I've always wanted to like do characters and basically develop like visual development and everything. And that's the Epic of Sunjata. I don't know if anyone has ever heard of it. The Epic of Sunjata from Mali. Yeah, it's an old Malian tale, complete with a hero, villain, and everything. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing.
Nice.
And I shared mine's about just something of like a tarot card of a Moor. And I guess the story behind it is that he's kind of very cocky with all his jewels and it's kind of like might be like the fool or the scholar kind of thing.
That Moorish, the one you're talking about, this the story of the Moors, these are the same Moors from Spain, yeah?
Well, no, so yeah, so it's going off of the Moors of African
origin.
People who traveled from Africa to live in Europe or do trade in Europe.
Okay,
they're inspired off of the famous art.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I know the art you're talking about, like the old kind of like the masterpiece.
I am doing something like a Ronin, African Ronin, kind of a little bit inspired by a Hannibal.
Hannibal. I think I've heard of that one. But
what about you, Adam? What do you got going on?
Oh, I'm bashing I'm sort of bashing two ideas together. I'm working with some silhouettes that I'd started on for a different project, but the diaspora prompt has got me thinking about exile. And then that got me thinking about a couple different characters working with. Right now I'm opening up a kind of a sci-fi Ronin exile sort of character that I was starting to work on. I like to cast actors as characters that I'm working on sometimes because it helps me think about them. So I've got like a sci-fi Ronin with Idris Elba that I started a while back, started some thumbnails on, but I'm going to use tonight as a time to get back to some inspiration on that.
I'm working in environment design and the key art, and I'm looking at the shapes and explore with a brush strokes. But in this case, I want to draw the shrine, to the Billion Shrine, and the, I don't know, hero inside of the people, and the people praying to the character is something like that. I'm going to evolution the idea.
On the idea.
Bill, Mike, or Aldis, are any of you guys drawing tonight? Or are you too tired?
I'm setting up. Nope, setting up right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna set up and then I'm gonna share my screen. I was just trying to. I'm closing out all my NDA Photoshoppy things.
I'm drawing with my mind. You know? Yeah. Beautiful up in here.
Show us, show us, show us. Break the come on.
Let's see. Okay. See a few more screens up in here. All right. I'm digging it. I'm digging it. Let's see.
I wanted to, someone asked me if this was reference to the Moors that were in Spain. I guess, of course, it's during the same time, but I wanted to say that this was in reference for the ones that were currently in Northeast Africa during that time. This is the art reference from that, but also some of the other ones.
Okay.
Yeah, for anyone that wasn't right on at the beginning, we just dropped all the words in the chat. If you want to follow along with the prompts, feel free. You don't have to. If you want to just hang, ask questions. I see a couple of you in the chat are not feeling confident enough to share anything, or you're just starting out on your art journey. So if you have any questions, you have 3 professional artists here that you can ask questions to, and actually probably a ton more in the chat, but I can't see all the participants. So, and if you're scared, if you don't want to ask out in person, type it in the chat and we'll call it out for you. Oh, Wynn's working on. There's a lot of people under NDA.
Yeah.
I got a question. I might be doing something wrong, but I've got, when I shared my screen, it wasn't like the screen share that I was looking at from someone else went away. Is there a way that I can share my screen and see the screen share?
Is that you, Adam, talking?
Yeah, sorry.
So
oh,
yeah,
did I turn off? Oh no.
No. If you go up to the top and click view options, and then it'll show you everyone's screen that's sharing. So you can kind of flip between everybody.
Oh, cool.
Does that answer your question? Does that work?
I think so. I'm working that out right now. That window with the view options earlier kind of went away when I shared my screen, but it's probably just something I'm not paying attention to.
Oh, right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you can, if you're sharing your own screen, I don't think you can flip between.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you have to turn off your own screen share to be able to look at what other people are doing.
That's cool. No worries.
I have a, sorry.
No, go for it. Go ahead.
I have a question. Okay. For those of you, the people that have already been working in the industry and everything, I wanted to know like the timeline for like, okay, if an art director gives you a piece, okay, I need this illustration done within I don't know what's the usual timeline for like an illustration. Let's say you're supposed to do the you're supposed to do like some sketches of illustrations, some sketches, some ideas for an animated feature, something like that. You're supposed to get the visual ideas rolling and all that. How long are you, how many days or so are you expected to turn in your work? Like, what's the deadline? What's the timeline like?
Yeah.
How long does it usually take?
I think, yeah, it definitely differs between industries as well as jobs, right? Like, for example, in live action, the turnaround for some of the things that me and like Phil work on, as opposed to when we did like some stuff on Mandalorian, as opposed to when we work at Marvel, 3 different timelines. So I would say, like, for example, my fastest pace has probably been on Mandalorian, right? Where that would be like 1 day per concept, per character, which is crazy.
Wow.
Like for other jobs, it could be around about in total up to a week, but it's best to show things every other day. So I tend to deliver things at the end of the second day. So I give myself 1 day for setting up, 1 day for researching, and then I should be ready by that next day to tackle all of my ideas. And generally I would submit, depending on my comfort with the subject matter, I would go for turning in like 3 to 4 different concepts. Generally, I think in the terms of one that is what the client is looking for, another one that I want, one that's mixed between myself and the client, and then one usually that's way out there. For animation, a lot of times from what we've experienced, it's kind of been different, where the pace is a little bit faster, but the finish doesn't have to be as up there. So a lot of times you're kind of relying on those sketches and just communicating a lot of different ideas, but also different poses and different angles, because a lot of the times they want to see what it looks like when it'll be animated. So live action, focusing on look, focusing on costume, focusing on actor, but in animation it's a lot more focused on movement. So it kind of varies, but generally I always think it's best to turn things in every 2 days.
2 days. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it could be.
Go ahead, Bill.
I was gonna say, AJ, it's hard. It's a hard question to answer, because with all of us, it is it's like Mike said, he answered it well. It's project based. So you just kind of have to be ready and have a varying skill set. Like, so the best way I can describe it is that we have to pivot and change and grow and learn quickly. Like, so you have to pivot on the job. So there's some points where it's like, okay, I know that they're asking me to do something and they're like, we're going to show this to the director in literally like a couple of hours. So then I have to switch to a style that I know I can complete something that's, you know, communicative in 2 hours. There's other times where we're just starting out and we have no idea what this character is going to be, other than having like some research or a mood board or whatever. And then we start to kind of thumbnail out stuff and we kind of draw and we figure it out. So the process, and that could be, you could have like a week on that character. You never know, like, or like to do variations. So it's like, then at that point, then one of the better workflows that I've seen is from one of my friends named Keith Christensen. Keith has a really great, strong workflow from like around like 8 until around like 10 or so. He will either paint, set up a body, set up a face, set up whatever it is, and he just focuses on getting that absolutely right. So he's painting it, figuring it out, making sure that it's sounding correct. And maybe that's even until lunchtime. But he'll also, in between that, when he gets, you know, fatigued or bored, he'll do like some head studies or he'll do some thumbnails or whatever. So by the, you know, about midday, he's got like a body standing there, maybe some head studies, and he's got like some little thumbnails. Then towards the end of the day, all he's doing is kind of sprinting through options of character, costume, whatever. So it's like a full process. And if you do that every single day, by the end of the week, you have a lot to show. So it's one of those things where it's like, you kind of have to get used to doing it that way. But then there are times where it's like, I'm full blown, like, oh, I've got time, I'm going to use 3D. And then I'm like, oh, I don't have time. So 3D will just be something that helps me speed up, at least in terms of like having a 3D figure or a body. And then I'm like right away photo bashing on top of it and drawing costumes on top of it. It really, there's no answer to it other than you just have to know yourself and know what's due. Like, so, and that's something that the job will answer, because that's a question we get often. But it's hard to answer because it's dependent on what they're asking you to do. Yeah. Like, and you'll know, like, it's like, cause that's something everybody wants to know, and they get worried about it. They get nervous. They're like, oh, like, what's the deadlines like? And then there's some places like the deadlines are intense, and you're also up against a lot of different things, like Marvel. When you work at Marvel, like, you come in those doors and it's like the best of the best. And you're looking at your heroes of painting, and they're all painting and drawing, and you're like, what the hell? And they're doing it well and at a great quantity, at a substantial quantity every week. And it's awesome to see. It's inspiring. It's great. There's tons of cool stuff, and it pushes you to learn. It pushes you to, you know, to work harder, to really work. It's inspiring. But that pace has been different than like working with a costume designer that might have like a specific pace, or it's also the focus, right? I can talk to you about the focus, which is, I've worked in costume primarily since I've been out of school, right? The focus for costume designers is very detail oriented in function and what the costume is actually going to end up being, right? So I'm so used to spending time on that. Then if you go to somewhere where it's like, say you switch and you're at Marvel and they're having you do a character, but then you're also switching to a keyframe. So I started to realize like, holy shit, I've been drawing characters for 15 years and I can do that. But now I have to draw them like flying and shoot lasers and shit. And I'm like, how do you draw lasers? Like, I'm like, I don't do that. Like, it's not something that I do. I'm used to having people standing there and I know exactly how this is going to function. But like when you start thinking about science and stuff, it's that conceptual side and you have to pivot. You have to be able to do that. You have to be able to draw your characters, you do keyframes, you have to be able to kind of do a wide range and then randomly switch in and start drawing weaponry and all kinds of stuff. So I think it's a balance for sure, but I think pacing is key. Pacing is definitely, you know, the key to it. And that's something that it will answer itself for you. You won't have to really figure that out so much. I do think that it's good to be flexible and also open to what would you call it, Mike? Would be like almost like urgency.
Yeah, urgency is probably the most important thing.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times you'll have art directors who are very anxious. And so when they're anxious, they throw their angst onto you. And thus you need to almost work like you're on fire. Like, no, but like you really need to like yourself and like be able to make sure that you can gain their trust, right? And by gaining their trust, you know, that's simply just checking in. Checking in doesn't mean it's finished, but also being aware that there are some art directors who don't know what a sketch looks like, while there are some who understand a rough sketch. So if you show them something in 2 days and you're like, hey, this is where I'm at. There's certain art directors who will panic if they see it in the sketch phase and like, what the hell is this? And there's others, and a lot of them who are like, okay, cool, I see where this is going, continue, right? You just want to keep that going and keep a pace that you can maintain also, because you don't want to burn out. And that's the thing. I've burnt out on projects and I'm like trudging along, dying, and no one sees it. So
I see it, Mike. I see it.
Thank you. Like, don't mind me, I'm just crawling. I'll get good question.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't.
Within that work and like pump out a whole bunch of artwork at a time.
Say it again? Sorry, I cut off a little bit.
Find that pace. Like, how do you find out how to pump out like a whole bunch of artwork at a time?
I personally draw my sketchbook a lot, and I feel like sketching and drawing is my most comfortable space. So a lot of it will oftentimes start off in my sketchbook, and usually I'm working so quick and rough and also small that it doesn't give me enough time to get too much into details. So essentially it's the equivalent of creating a thumbnail, but even further, right? Because when that image or that design is, say, abbreviated or shortened, like what impact, what is the star of the show, right? So I'll do that. And if I get stuck, that means I have to do a lot more research. So then if that happens, I'll go and I'll do like at least 4 hours or a day or multiple days of research and make sure that I have enough knowledge on the subject to then go back, jump into my sketchbook and kind of work from there. Sometimes what happens is based on the tools, say for example, if you know ZBrush, but you also know how to draw, but you also know how to paint, certain tools yield certain results in your sketch phase, right? So sometime as I'm drawing, there's certain designs that I can't quite get. Say I'm like, oh, like I want this to look more carved, but my drawing ability isn't getting the look I'm desiring. Then I'll jump to ZBrush and I'll do something really rough and come up with a totally new idea. And then I go into painting and come up with a totally new idea. And so all of those tools that you eventually learn can yield different results, and you can keep on iterating because then you're riffing off of some of the designs that you've already created based on your discomfort. Not even your comfort, but based on your discomfort.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you.
My question is a recent question that I just got experience. I know that some of you are further along in your careers, but back when you were starting, did you have to face the like when you were telling people what your career path was or what you were doing, people were perceiving it more as in gallery work or curated work, and how you know, they're like, man, your work is so good, why don't you just join this insert gallery here, or and like, I don't know, like having to deal with people perceiving you as just, and I'm not saying like there are people who make thousands of dollars and make a great income in that field, but that's not what you want to do. So how are you able to like did you learn a way to like not brush them off, but say like, hey, that's not what I want to do, or this is what I want to do? Because I guess there's not many people, not many Black women that are famous in this kind of career path.
Oh yeah, I know Phil has also gone through it. I've definitely gone through it. I mean, I think common for me personally is when I was telling my dad I want to be an artist, he's like, why don't you draw as a doctor? And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? You can draw in the illustration books. And he's like, doctors draw as well. And you can draw in the illustration books. I'm like, that's not the type of art I even do. Like, you know, but for him, I just kind of like accepted his ignorance, right? But then there's another side of it where, and a lot of us go through this, I'm sure, but most art that people are familiar with is comic books or possibly animating, not animation design, like designing for animation, but simply animating. And so they're like, oh, you want to draw them cartoons and shit? You know, like, it's like, nah, that's also not what I'm trying to do. So most of the time, to be honest, I don't even waste my time trying to educate most people on it. I'm just like, okay, you guys will see. And I'm sure after you see it over and over again, it becomes oh, so you was working on that comic, to, oh, so you made that, you designed that, you created that. And it's like, right now you're understanding the gist of the job.
Yeah. At least you get that though. I get a bunch of like, oh, you do graphic design and logos.
Oh, dude, no.
That's all it
also dropping mixtape covers. I know.
Legit.
Hey fam, my mixtape
Happens all the time. Can you make a logo?
Right?
Can you make a logo for my company? It's like, I
It's
have
such a real
no
thing.
idea what it is, but
Yeah, it's the realest thing. It's like they'll literally sit there and be like, all right, so I was seeing your work on the Instagrams, but you want to work on my logo? It's like, huh? Yeah, for my mixtape. No,
Well, the way
that's totally
the only way I found
Have you ever seen me do a logo yet? Like, come on. You looking at my brain.
oh man, you draw like my cousin has a friend who also draws.
Yeah, all of it. I mean, it's the level that we're dealing with a lot of the times for all of us is we're just dealing with people. It's like, this is why there's a pipeline that we need to fix. Because there's no education in it. There's no frame of reference. It's almost like, have you ever, I remember working in costume did this for me. Has there ever been something where you didn't pay it any attention, like from birth? It's just something you get used to it being as is. And then at some point you get really specific in it and then you see it for something different. Like the best way I can describe it is like with clothing to me is like, you go to the store, you say that I like that shirt, you pick it up and you buy it. It was only until working in costume that I realized there's a person that sat there and designed that thing and made that thing. And then that thing came to you and then you make the choices you make. There's like a whole process, or even like if you've ever gone to a farm and you see like how food is actually grown and you're like, oh, it's not just this thing that's in the store and gets watered every 30 seconds or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, it's an actual, there's a process for it. I think the same thing happens if you think about art in that way. That's what's happening, is that for lack of anything, there's no specificity to it. It's just like, oh, you draw, that means you can do all these creative things. Like you draw, but it's like but it would be for us, it's as silly as going up to a football player and being like, oh, so you play basketball and tennis and blah blah blah, right? And they're like, no, it's not what I do. It's the same thing. And so you have to really take the time to educate people, and we have to stop to be able to let them know, like, this isn't exactly what I do or whatever. But I think for the longest time, for me, elementary school all the way up until high school, every time I said I drew, people would either try to put me in graphic design or say like, you do logos, or you should do these magazine layouts. And then when I was graduating college, my dad came to me and he was all super excited. He's like, I met this guy down at the blah, blah, blah. And he says he's got this job where you can draw. And I was like, what is it? And it's like, you have to move up to like, you know, Northern California and you're going to be working, drawing stuff for the slot machines. And I was like, what the? Like, I was like, he was like, so I basically did this whole education. You want me to use my education for drawing to go and draw like genies and cherries and like barrels? I was like, no, thanks. You know what I mean? But he was like, but it's a really good job. And, you know, it was like the guy told him that it paid well. And I was like, I'm sure it pays well. It's out in the middle of nowhere. No one would want to do this. Like, I'm not doing that, you know? But it just is what it is. That's kind of what it is. It just, I found, and the one thing that I can say that's comforting, at least I found it comforting, is that no matter how specific you get, your friends, your cousins, your aunt and them, all of them, none of them are really ever going to understand what you do. They'll be proud of you, but they still won't understand. I can tell my cousins, I say like, oh, Phil did the costumes for Inception. And I'm like, well, I illustrated the costumes for Inception, but the costume designer is Jeffrey Curlin. And I worked really hard with him for 6 months. And then they'd be like, great. He costume designed all of Inception and all of Marvel Universe. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'm just never gonna, it's never gonna happen. But I'm glad they at least know that there's a job there, you know. I think that's kind of how you have to approach it.
It's never
It's never gonna work.
Actually work now.
To be honest, I don't know if even my grandparents know what I do.
It's okay. It's
never
like,
know.
They cannot
they're
see
never gonna know. They will be proud of you though. You just have to keep pushing forward.
I told my grandma what I want to do. She was like, baby, don't you want to you have a good job already. Don't you want to do
Yeah.
She was like, I'm worried. I don't want you to be poor.
Yeah.
Even to this day, she's like, baby, I know you like to do all those little drawings and all that. Oh, grandma, I love you.
Drawings.
I love you, grandma. I love you, but I gotta do this. I gotta do this.
What I want to do.
My dad still.
I don't actually.
Mike's like, my dad's still not happy.
Still don't know. He's like, he's never happy, bro.
You need to be on stage with them Oscars. I think that's when he'll get it.
He still won't.
I think, yeah. I can relate because of the parental influence and everything. Yeah, just like Michael said, yeah, it's either you're a doctor, an engineer, or a lawyer. Because of that parental pressure, I actually became a lawyer. So yeah, but I came back to this because I really couldn't stay away. And over time, with understanding and everything, my parents are supportive now and everything, especially when they noticed there was a job I did and I got like 2 times my their salary in a month. So that's the thing. You have to show them that you can actually maintain yourself with this lifestyle. That's all you need to show. And they'll be supportive, I think, because every parent just wants their child to succeed, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's so true. Like my dad, it'll be hilarious because he'll basically be like, yeah, so I accept what you are doing. That is cool. That's happy for you, right? And if I remember this one time I brought one of my friends over who was a lawyer. He's like, so what are you doing now? And he's like, I'm a lawyer. He's like, see, he's a lawyer. See. He's like looking, totally just divert the attention to me. He's like, see, he is a lawyer. Like he is doing it right. And I'm just like, bruh, like, I guess it'll never be enough.
Nope.
Be enough. It's cool. It's whatever. I'm over it. I'm not over it.
I brought this question.
Insert Disney song here.
Yeah. I brought this question or statement. I think a other thing where a lot of young artists, young minority artists, don't get access to the animation education at a rate as compared to some others, and like including me, where I didn't realize that was an opportunity until, and the thing is, my mother was like getting me in art classes, but it was more preparing me for like curated art, like, that's the only expectation. And so, and it wasn't until like senior year where it was like, you could do animation or gaming. And I'm like, what? Whereas their kids are already in boot camps or already, preparing themselves. Like we didn't even get to go to, I guess I won't mention the name, but the big art school until later, because our school was kind of on the poor side, or they just didn't acknowledge us, you know.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense though. I mean, it's one of those things that like the key thing for us knowing, like, we know that there's some work to do in the pipeline to actually correct that and make that not the case, which means that we have to kind of give up time. We have to go, we want to start going earlier. I think everyone, when they think of kids, they think of high school and they go too late. So you really have to go back and show. And then the one thing that we have been really trying to kind of work on too is making sure that we have the opportunity to go to these schools and actually maybe leave them with some product or leave them with some stuff because they don't have the resources. Because that's another thing. The school is already not getting resources for basic stuff like, you know, books and stuff, like, yet alone like a computer or a Cintiq or a tablet or any of that stuff, or the programs. And then there's also that disconnect of, if you're in a place where those kids can't afford that, even if you show it to them, they're not going to be able to have, you know, access to it. So there's a lot of things. It's showing, it's doing, it's setting up programs, it's setting up a pipeline to where they can succeed. I think the showing is one of the most important parts, because at least bare minimum they'll remember, and then you can set them into action, a course of action of being like, that's something I want to do. Then maybe they can find resources. But the key thing that I keep forgetting about is there's also, we had a good point, we talk about all the technology and how expensive it is, but it's also just getting them to just draw on paper. Like they have, like, just giving them the tools to create art traditionally, and then, you know, working their way up. I think that that's also a really important step.
Because I remember, because like I went to a magnet school, and I was that kid that was friends almost with everybody, and so they put everybody paid, you know, the bills for their magnet classes, but the theater kids got all the love and attention because they're performing arts, and they have this big show where we had, like, it was literally night and day. Like, we had this tiny cramped room, and we had to pay for our own food, and like there wasn't that much love and attention. So I think also just proving that there is a massive, like, there are, like, I didn't know that there were artists like you until a year ago. Like 2 years ago. I'm just being dead ass. Like because there's this excuse is like, well, it's hard to find these talents. And I'm like, and a whole year passes, and I'm like, why are y'all lying? Bold-faced lying. When I see all these artists, all these, like, I've met, let's just be honest, Black artists that can fill every single, like multiple roles in different things and are exceedingly talented. So I'm like, what are y'all trying to say then? Because it's like, I'm like, okay, that's just something I'm being very passionate about, because I'm making friends with artists who are stupid talented, but they're like, yeah, but then I hear from people who work in these industries, and they're like, yeah, like, it's hard to find like talented artists in this position. And I'm like, what?
We've seen it. That's one of the main reasons we started the company too. We've seen it in terms of like, there's always this nebulous kind of like, it's hard to find, or there's not that many, or, you know, it's just a blanketed thing. That if we are really being honest with ourselves, the pipeline is broken, but also it's not like they really look or do search out to. Now I will say now, because of the, you know, a lot of the changes that we're all experiencing, they are looking, and they're actually listening. It's just that to a certain degree, there's still the work to be done in order to ensure that they're looking for the right reasons, and that they're also looking for the right type of thing, and that they're also not, because we've seen people, me and Mike have seen people that have been there the entire time, where it's like, there's an artist that's there, they're super good, and now people are like, oh, like, we should hire this guy. And it's like, he's literally been there. You've seen him. He's applied. You haven't. You've been hiring the same people, and now you're like, oh, okay, maybe. And it's like, that's one thing that Mike talks about too in terms of pipeline that's really difficult, is by the time you end up making it, sometimes you're so drawn out and tired. It's like they've taken all like your exuberance away. Your youthful exuberance is gone. Now you're like dried out and like your soul's gone. And they're like, want a job? And you're like, I don't know.
I guess.
Tired.
I'm
Like,
tired.
what you gotta do
My will to go on is like past me now.
I am tired.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, seriously. I've seen some like really extreme cases. I've seen some like cases where, you know, the people are just like, yeah, I'll take it. And then, you know, when they get hired, it's like, oh, they don't seem like they're as good as they used to be. And it's like, yeah, maybe because instead of drawing, they were looking for work, asshole.
Yeah, like
like,
I feel like it's like that what's it called? The Titanic meme with the old woman where it's like, it's been 85 years.
Yeah. Seriously.
You're just like, man, this is taking a really long time.
That's where I hope, like, when I get to that point, because trying to do two things at one time, like trying to do engineering and then trying to do the art thing, it gets so tiring that I don't want to feel jaded once I get there and feel like that I'm so tired that I can't do my best work. Because whatever happens, I'm going to be super excited, of course.
Right.
But it's one of those things where you like, I'm used to hustling, literally like waking up 6 o'clock in the morning, working for 8 to 10 hours, go straight to drawing. And like, that's like until like 12 o'clock. And that's like almost every day. So it's like, you get to a point where you're so exhausted and it's like, man, is it ever going to happen? Like, or when it does happen, am I going to meet the requirement? You still second guess yourself. It's a lot of stuff, but I just hope when I get to that point, I'm like, I get that same boyish charm about drawing that I did when I first started. And it probably still won't be the same, but I don't know.
And we have those issues with our students at our school, like depending on where they are within the district. On one side that's more affluent, they have resources like at our school, they have digital marketing, AV production, all the video game designs at our school, versus on another side of the district, they won't have that. And it's kind of sucks for the kids that are in the outer city versus the kids that are in the inner city, like in Houston Independent School District. A lot of the schools don't have those things. If they were to come out to like where I am in Humble, they're like, oh, this is actually a thing. I'm like, yeah, and it kind of sucks because like I know y'all have the passion for art, but you're not exposed to it because of where you live. You don't have the funding in your district, and that's not really fair in a sense. So
yeah, that's extremely sad.
The funding thing in education always throws me off because it's such a weird, like even for where I live right now, my daughter's at a really nice school, and it's like completely, it took us a good, I don't know how many years when we moved here to get used to not having like that school list where you have to buy everything because the school's so well funded, where I was just like, they'd be like, okay, like we'd be stressing, like, when are they sending the list? And they're like, no, guys, their paper, their books, their school, like everything. And we're like, what, really? Like, we're so confused. And you see the areas in which that happens. And then you see, like, we're like, how is this fair? Or how is this like something where it's like, this is this way? Because it does get really frustrating that you can just go even a city over and those kids have nothing. Like they have, or everything has to be provided. It just
not even a city over. We can go like a block over.
Yeah, like there you go. Like, and it's like it's a different, it's like a full. It could be really. It's interesting to see how, and it could be so close, like you said, and it doesn't translate, or it's like it's not the same. I find that very interesting, just in terms of how to get that together, and like how it's like, how would you get this to where it's a little bit more balanced or a little bit more fair? And I don't really have the answer to that. I don't know.
Taxes, that's really how everything's funded, and it's stupid, honestly. You have like Title I schools that are funded where the houses are lower income, but it's like just because the house is lower income doesn't mean a student should have poor education just because of that. It's not fair for the students, you know.
Yeah, it's a cycle for sure. We definitely got a break.
Well, education, I think it's still one of those things. I mean, not to get like all, it's just education is an equalizer. And I feel like that's the reason why it is the way that it is. It's like you're in a poor neighborhood, and they also make sure that your education isn't as like, it's like education is key. If you could learn, you would get out of that neighborhood, or you would advance, but if it's where it becomes difficult, then the system stays the same.
Yeah, I think one thing that was really cool that that happened to me early on was my mom was really good at checking out other like artists who were in the community, and she would send me to those like programs. So like, whereas she would also send me to like places in like Hollywood and like, Melrose, whatever, she would also make the time to like send me to places like Watts, where like someone would do like a free comic book workshop, and it would just be like a bunch of young black artists just kind of vibing together. And I feel like that's something that I would really love for us to be a part of, is like kind of hosting like a workshop where we're going to these schools and checking them out, and then having like just big events where different schools can kind of see what we do in general and just kind of be educated on that. I think that would be really dope.
Yeah, I could agree with you on that. Hello?
Oh, go on. I think it's Anna. Is your mic?
I think it's Anna's.
Yeah. I wanted to say something. Yeah.
Your mic.
Go. Okay, so I studied in public school, right? We were lucky we had toilet paper, you know what I mean? Mostly if you're in public school, you are for sure everything that you have access to, the teachers are the ones who bought it from their own pockets. There's like no support from the government whatsoever. And usually in public school,
oh wait, Anna can
afford.
Hey, Anna.
Huh?
Your microphone. I can't understand what you're saying because your microphone.
What?
Uh-oh.
I think it's your internet connection is making the microphone all choppy on us. I don't know if I think it's an internet thing.
It's making it to where we can't hear you. It sounds like
yeah, it's okay. Sorry. You guys talk. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. There we go. It's like it's giving it's giving a staticky sound.
I wanted to piggyback off of what Mike was saying about like how his mom got him into like all the art and like helped support him through that way. I feel like my mom did that as well, as she owns an art like gallery, like an African store, and she's always like helped me pursue art, which is very hard to find, like you said, for an African parent to do that for you. So I'm extremely blessed that she helped me basically achieve goals and like sent me on my way. Like she had no problem paying for art school, no matter how expensive it is. It's like she just knew that my success was there, and I appreciate her a lot for that. And like she's always guided me on that path, whether it's giving me a sketchbook or just literally telling customers about me and like guaranteeing me an art wall in her gallery. So I'm very appreciative of that.
It's always the moms.
Hey, Imogene, hi.
I wanted to chime in on the subject from a little bit of a different angle, because we're talking about people getting access to what they need to grow, and sometimes that costs money. Sometimes it just requires knowing that you've got more options than you realize you have. Totally different kind of situation than like kids coming up looking for like even knowing that something is a career opportunity. But like when I was making a major career shift, I was like about to turn 40, and I'd always done a lot of creative stuff, but what I really wanted to do was concept design. But in my mind, that ship had sailed, and I had no idea where I could get access at that age, to learn that kind of stuff. The only reason I'm bringing up is not to put the spotlight on my story. That's not the point. It was when another artist turned me on to just the power of community. And I started a meetup, and I looked at the resources I did have, and the resources I did have was I knew a few decent artists. So I just started providing a space for them to get together. And my idea was if I could provide a hospitable place for artists that they wanted to be at, I would on a weekly basis have proximity to artists that I could learn from.
Right.
So I had a place and I had a time, and so I started getting these artists together, and just by getting them together, I started to grow, and my whole perspective shifted on what was possible for me. But then the really cool thing was, because it was an all ages venue, we started having a lot of youth come in and like come alive, because they got to hang out with their friends who were 14 also, but then they were sitting next to a student at Concept Design Academy. And that student's like, hey, try this in your sketchbook, you know? And so just watching that cross-pollination happening between different people and different age groups, just because you get them sitting at a table together, like that, doing that literally changed my life. And I know that there's other artists that I've helped, you know, sort of find their way, because we were just eating some pizza and drawing like every, you know, Tuesday night. So I think there's a lot that could be facilitated. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, there's stuff that we can facilitate. If the government or the school district is slow to move and slow to do things, like, there are ways to bring artists together and just get them to start learning from each other. And so like that meetup continues today, and now like another guy's running it, and I show up from time to time right here in Pasadena, but the doors are always open and it's always free. But there's a lot of really cool artists and art students going in there that are just like ready to pull up a chair and sit next to a kid who's showed up that's like 13 years old. That's like, I like to draw manga, but I want to do like more too. And then they'll like literally start teaching them anatomy and figure drawing and that kind of stuff.
That's dope. That's dope.
There's some cool stuff to be tapped into there, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
The
think
volunteering
is
is time
bringing
is
that
hard.
awareness.
Yeah. The volunteering of time, I think also too, is a real necessity for a lot of this stuff, because we all become very aware that that's sometimes what it's going to take. Is that sometimes it really is, if you want to see the change, you just have to provide it no matter what.
Also, it's like dedication too, because like I had, so you know, I graduated high school not too long ago, and so I don't know what the adults had to go through to make these, you know, kid events happen. But so like I'm in Georgia, and I do work for this group called the Advocates of Macon, Georgia, and their goal is, and Macon, Georgia is like the heart of Georgia, and their goal is to actually expand the arts, the Black arts, and they like buy their own community, and they're doing what you're doing. But issues I've heard, you know, through them talking, is people trying to like, it's like everyone trying to be their own planet in this whole galaxy, instead of, and not, you know, because like if they sense wavering, they're like, okay, I'll just go to my own planet and do my own thing, kind of thing. And that's something I've noticed, where there's a lack of unity when we're all trying to do for the greater good, because everybody's going through their own struggle, and financially, mentally, physically, whatever. But I've noticed when things, or when they see their own, when they feel the need to, there's just more level of people just going to their own planets than focusing on the whole galaxy itself as a whole. I don't know if that makes sense.
That's completely makes sense. I mean, that's one of the things that we've kind of said, at least in terms of, even for us, in terms of trying to pull people together. One of the things that I always said is that I found interesting is that we have all of these successful people within a system, right? So if you took some of our, you know, main prominent celebrities or whatever it is, what ends up happening, which is difficult, is that they're all successful individually within a system, but they're not teaming up to create a more powerful, unified system that can actually change anything. So it's like, if you took that, it's that same thing. It's that island mentality, like, I'm going to go do my own thing, and then maybe that'll work. But if we're all trying to do our own thing, some will be successful, some won't. And so unless you combine and you start to say, you know, like I always use it, it's the Jim Henson of it. Jim Henson had all of his friends, they all graduated from college, they all supported each other. So they all said, okay, Sarah's got this idea, so let's make sure that we support Sarah's idea. Then Sarah's idea takes off. And then they're like, okay, now let's go and support Jim's idea. And they just did that, and then it grew organically. But if they all had just graduated and went off, maybe one of their ideas would have made it, maybe not. Like, that's kind of the way that it works. I think that's a really good point. It's just, it's a methodology.
Yeah, that's just what I noticed, where people want to do stuff, but nobody either wants to commit, or they feel better just doing their own thing. They feel safety and doing their own thing.
It's hard to get artists together.
Yeah.
We're a weird bunch for sure.
Artists are naturally flaky. That's like a stereotype that is actually kind of
dang, son.
That's facts though.
Just calling it out. Just
that's facts.
Yeah, well, I try to because I know what it feels like to feel flaked on. So I try to like always, because you know when you feel like someone abandons your stuff, you're like, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember at Watts, I tried to get a bunch of artists together and start like creating projects and doing stuff like that because it was so many talented cats running through that place. Like it was like, bro, like we don't have to go get a job. We can make some stuff here. Like,
right.
That's what I'm always on. So it's like but getting them together was like pulling teeth.
Oh yeah, totally. That's not surprising at all.
Yeah, it was miserable. I was like, come on, y'all, you want to get together, sketch, do this? I'm like, no, but we're gonna. But that's the thing too. They were so stuck in studying that they would never want to create anything.
Right.
They were just stuck in that study mindset. And I'm like, I'm all about studying. Don't get me wrong. I do sheets of studies every day, but I wanted to create some stuff. I wanted to create something cool or interesting, or tell my own stories and stuff like that. So
right.
I just had an epiphany. I forgot Atlanta is the city of scams and pyramid schemes. And so like there is this constant fear of like, because there have been so many times where they're like, hey, come support me in my event, and I come and it's like a pyramid scheme, or it's a like pay me.
Those damn things.
I can't do that. I can't do them.
Or it's like we're having a house party. Oh, I forgot it's $20 at the door. What? Like we're having a curated art event. Oh, I forgot it's $20 at the door. Like,
no.
So I feel like at least for Atlanta, it's gotten to that point of like, bruh, like where it's like, what can I get out of it type of energy? Like people trying to get their acting career up, so they're like, does this help promote me in any sense? But everybody's trying to see what they can get out of it than like selflessness. So
right.
Yeah. So like the makings of math kids, they're very like independent. Like they go out their way to do whatever is necessary. So, but I felt extremely I processed. I'm like, I felt extremely skeptical meeting them because I'm like, are you trying to get money out of me, or you trying to like do a non-profit but you profit somehow kind of thing? So that's something that I
a non-profit, but you probably like a I opened a non-profit.
That's next level. I remember
I've actually worked in non-profit. I can tell you with all seriousness, they profit a lot. There's nothing like non-profits actually. They actually profit.
Yeah.
I remember so many people at some point started hitting me with like these pyramid schemes that I literally had to put out a PSA on my Facebook, and I was like, "Hey, next person who invites me to one of these will die." It was like, it's like I take it very personal now. Like,
did you put like a chicken just so that they'll know that you're serious, that this is jazz? This is
like
that's a real course.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's so like COVID has kind of saved like so many pyramids, like canceled so many pyramid screen parties, but that ain't stopping people from the hustle.
Nah.
Man, I told this story on my Facebook. A rapper from Long Beach, he hit me on Instagram because he saw one of my work in progress, a Chance the Rapper. So this fool was like, draw me next. So I'm like, all right, cool, for a fee. So 5 minutes later, I didn't see the message no more, but this fool blocked me.
Yep.
Like flies.
You know what? Honestly, that's the way I wish it was. Just block yourself from me.
How dare you?
He took care of it. That's actually great. That's respectful. He did it himself. He said,
"I'm on his way out."
He still ain't got, as far as music wise, he still ain't getting nowhere famous as he was like 3 or 4 years ago. So it is what it is.
And I think I remember that actually. I think I remember he posted it. Didn't he post it on your comment section?
Yeah, it was on my comment section. It wasn't like a DM.
Yeah, I remember it.
I love that. I wish more people did that. You just meet someone and you're like, man, this person sucks, and then they just disappeared. They just block themselves from your life.
He literally just looks at the door. He's like, all right.
I'll see myself out. Thank you.
For your
I've had literally people ask me for free work. Like someone like, hey, I need you to draw me this thing. I ain't got no money though. This is just for like the exposure. And I'm like, no. And they're like, man, you whack. And then they just I swear to God, you would never say that to my face. But yeah.
And that free work thing is like low key hilarious. I had this dude DM me on Twitter like some years ago, and he was like, hey, so I got this project trying to get these covers done, like these these black characters and whatnot. And so I was like, yeah. And so he was like, so can you just do it? I said, yeah, I need half up front. And I gave him a price. And he was like, well, can you just like do this and then I just pay you at the end? And I was like, nah. I was like, I just need half up front. And he was like, well, what if I don't like it? I was like, I can do revisions. Like I can send you sketches in progress. And he was like, nah, you don't understand. Like when you do this, you have some of your portfolio, and then I'm gonna just be left out because there's gonna be something I don't like. I was like, huh? Like, no, like I can, well, how about we do it like this? I send you the sketch.
Oh, you made it so much further than me. I would have already.
I was like,
I broke it down to him like so bad as if dude was like a child. Like, well, how about you pay me a quarter of like of the price? I send you the sketch, then you pay me some more. I send you like refined sketch and such. We go from there. And he was like, but if I don't like it, then I'm just stuck with this. And I was like, bro, what's wrong with you? And in my head, I was like, this is like going to the store and then going to the clerk and being like, I want these chips. But like, what if I don't like the chips? Can I just try the chips now? It's like, no, I can't try the chips right now. Like, what, bro? Like,
incredible.
Yeah, the last commission that I wasn't gonna take, it was this, logo design, whatever, or at least I thought she wanted a logo design. So I'm like, okay, cool, that's $300. You're gonna give me $150 up front. And she going like, well, what if I don't like it? I'm like, well, we could do revisions early, but once you get past the sketch phase, it's gonna be stuff from there. So I'm doing the sketch. Now she texts me, not to say that I don't like it. She was like, no. So I'm like, all right, we just changed it up. So I did another sketch. She was like, and then she started getting a little bit sassy with me, and she was like, $300 for a logo. Are you serious yourself? So all right, I'm like, what the fuck wrong with her? So I'm like, all right, look. All right, I do it. No, I'll just misunderstand. Look, I'll just gladly give you your money back. Cash App, so PayPal won't charge you that little merchant fee or some other shit. So I'm like, all right, cool. Give your money back. I ain't got to deal with the nonsense. You know what I mean?
Bro, I done had enough of everybody right now. Like I done had jobs where it's just you get in there, you start doing work, and it's like, oh well, let's get back to you about this design. And it literally like a month later, I'm just like, you know what, man? So I rather if I'm gonna take a job or not take a job, I'd rather focus on my stuff and getting better and focusing on trying to get bigger stuff. So I'm at a point where I'm just like taking these smaller jobs it's almost not even worth it at a certain point because you have to jump through so many hurdles for pay that's not even really that great,
For me, it's those like I do not take anything where they're gonna make like merchandise. Like that's a whole nother monster where I'm like, you can make money off of the design I just created, and I have to monitor that.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I just saw this YouTube video. I forgot what this black dude, I forgot what this brother name is, but he said, if you're gonna take a commission, you gotta think of yourself as an investor. Like, should I be invested into working on your project? Not the other way around where I gotta get a job and I gotta get money opportunity, I gotta pay bills and all this other stuff. Just see yourself as an investor and see if you even want to take the job.
That's a good way to see it.
That's good. The ones that I really despise are the ones that they will use your own interest against you. They will, like, for example, you draw a lot of folklore images, for example. That's the kind of thing I'm into. And then somebody's coming, come and do this for me. And well, it's not even just the exposure. It's just like, hey, you're doing your part to promote African culture and everything. Is that not something that you should work for free for? I'm just like, really?
Oh, wow.
Wow. I did not know, because me, I have my rates here. You can read them. They're already here. Just read them out. and they disappear, or they insult me and disappear.
Or they insult me.
Put your drones anyway and just disappear.
Like, that's why you ugly anyway.
I'm so bad.
That last little bit of hater before, it's always my favorite thing. The last little bit of just the explosion of just like, you're not gonna do this and be manipulated, and then the mad.
Yeah.
But I think he still got the best one. I love that explosion, and then the fact that he just blocked himself from saying that's probably the best way that could end. I think that's awesome.
That's great. I wish people would do that all the time.
Like just in life, not even art.
Straight up.
Hey, I'm about to make your life a living hell. I'm about to see my way out though. Like, okay, you.
I had a dude, I did a commission for my homeboy, and I guess this other person worked with my homeboy too, but they had like a falling out. This fool hit me up talking about, you're stealing my style. Mind you, I did some stuff on some leather, and I thought this stuff been for hundreds of years. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he just kept rambling on, and I was like, then I think my brother just stepped in, and he started going off on him, and then that's when he just blocked himself too.
Blocking themselves.
Bro, you get lucky. How you get lucky like that? What the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I just get the emotional ones, man. It's not even like, I mean, I have people kind of like back out, which is fine. Like, it is what it is, but then the ones that get all emotional and shit, that's like 2 for 2.
I like that. Look,
man, you brought up leather, and it triggered another story, commission story. All right, so I was on Facebook, and like some of my friends, they were tagging me on this post that this girl was looking for artists. So I was like, all right. So she hit me up on Messenger, and the first red flag was like, I can't put it into words, but like, can I call you and say it on the phone? And in my head, I'm like, all right, so you can't type it, but you finna call me and use words to say what you don't know how to type. All right, that's cool. I was like, all right, just call me on Messenger. So we started talking, and she was like, she wanted me to like paint a suitcase and paint some stuff on top of it. And I was like, all right. And so in my head, I'm like, what type of materials I can use? I said, well, first, like, what materials is this suitcase made out of? And she said, hold on, let me go get it. So she left the phone, and it was about like a good 30 seconds. And she came back, she said, it's smooth. It's smooth. And I ain't gonna lie, like I just stared at the wall.
Smooth as hell. Okay.
Definitely.
It ain't metal,
incredible.
Not granite, nothing, just smooth. I'm like, all right, okay, I'll see.
Nah, bro, that's your fault. You should have got what she said.
I promise, I lost brain cells that night. I lost about 4 or 5 of them that night.
It's smooth.
What type of material is it? The smooth.
It's smooth. It's smooth. Just
I'm
like
about
her
to say that
brain.
for everything,
Just like
man.
her brain, smooth.
I don't know, you guys. I'm thinking about this. Actually, it's a fun conversation because I'm thinking about before I started working, and I remember that was kind of like before I started doing like my film work. I remember being in that same, it's a pipeline for sure. It's like your client list is based on, accessibility, and then people who are reaching out to you from different mediums and stuff. I got asked to do a lot of logos. I got asked to do a lot of mixtape covers, CD covers, people randomly calling me. It would always be a random call too. Like it would be somebody didn't respect the code and gave out my phone number to like a random person.
Oh, no, that's against the law.
No, but it would be something random like, I met, so-and-so, like your barber, and he was in the mall. And I was like, so why were y'all talking about me though? Like, I don't understand how this came up. And they would just start talking. They might give my phone call, I'd answer it, and they just like, yeah, you really want to be a part of this. I'm designing these sweaters that I'm going to sell at the swap meet. And you're like, what? Like, what? Like, and then it would be something random. And then you would try to really be professional and try and figure it out. Once you start to realize this with a lot of those jobs, the red flags are there. You just have to see them. So like, you just have to, and I think the older you get, the more you just cut them off. Like as soon as someone's going back and forth with me and trying to explain to me why I should work for free, I'm done. Like I'm already like, I literally will go away, block. Like my favorite thing is to type people. People will be asking me and arguing and saying, you should do this and you want to be a part of this. And I'll start typing like I'm going to respond, and then I just block. So they'll just get blocked in the middle of me finishing my sentence. I think it's one of those things where it's like, at a certain point, you can't deal with that stuff. It's like, it drains you. And it's funny at the end, but it'll drain your energy. And ultimately what you want to do is you want to focus your client list or your base, what you're trying to get towards the jobs that you want, right? So you have to start eventually you get your client list, you start to build that up, but you also will start to cater and curate the type of job that you want based on the jobs that you take. And I think that that's a really important thing to do too. And not to say that you can't do some of the other jobs. I just think that if you keep doing those jobs, you end up in a position to where you're always going to be kind of in a random pool, like the random pool of it, where it's like, okay, this person's asking me for a logo, this person wants that. At a certain point, you got to try and see if you can get yourself to have the client list or build the client list that you want. Or what you can do is you build your portfolio to mirror the career that you want.
Yeah.
And that way it'll attract people.
I'm constantly laughing right now. Sorry, real quick. I'm laughing because I'm reading the chat, and then Wesley just I'm gonna just read this little excerpt.
Yeah.
Like, I literally had an email once that was like, because if you were doing this, you wouldn't be doing. I mean, if you were doing this for money, you wouldn't be doing it at all. And I was like, 100%. What are you talking about? Like, what?
Wow.
The games that people play, that is too good.
But I've seen a lot too.
That's actually kind of incredible. That went full circle. Like
that's full finesse mode.
That's full like it actually finessed me. I'm like, oh wow. That's
like, wait, maybe you're right.
Maybe. Yeah. Should I be working for free? Yeah. Totally.
I'll take offense. I'll be like, he called me a bitch just now. He said
so eloquently though. Yeah.
I think it's also in how people word it too, because sometimes they'll send an email, because I'll get them every once in a while, and it's the way that people word it. They'll say, hey, do you want to collaborate? We just want you to collaborate. Anytime I hear collaboration, I begin typing, so about your project. I always throw your project back at them. I'm interested to hear about your project, and just setting up a precedence like this is, I'm not the one to come to for free. I don't walk into my orthodontist. My kid, my daughter, she has braces. I don't walk in there and say, you know what? I would like to barter with you. Or I'd like to collaborate with you.
Let's collaborate.
For my daughter's braces. So she's gonna look really great after her braces are, after she gets her teeth straight and everything, she's gonna look fantastic. So I always just type it right back to them, and you can just see a change right in their email back. Oh, okay, but I always am like really aware of those words, collaboration. Because that's a lot of time when people are just trying to, just blow smoke. And so, so I find that just really throwing it right back at them, saying, I'm really interested to hear more about your project. Tell me more about it so I can work on a quote for you. And that really nips in the butt right there. So we don't have that conversation going back and forth about, well, I do charge, that, right?
Right.
I love that collaboration. For me, it's the collaboration is one, that's a red flag. The other one is when I always get the, especially on Instagram, I get in my DMs, they're like, let's link fam. And I'm like, no,
no ma'am.
No, I only sent that to you one time, bro.
And I'm gonna put you on blast about it every single time.
But the thing is, you get those, especially the Let's Link fam, like, who you calling fam? We don't know each other. I've never met you. How do you know me? You're a stranger.
You're an actual stranger. Yes.
Man, like anything, the pandemic, a lot of my homeboys, they started like clothing lines, whatever. I'm like, all right, that's cool, because people trying to like make some extra money. But I told them, like, I can do a logo, but I'm not gonna do your whole entire clothing line.
Right.
Like, for real, like,
give them an inch, they take a mile, bro.
Yeah, you have people asking for the clothing line. You have people that will say, can you draw this real quick so I can go and put it on shirts? And it's like, what do you mean real quick? Like you just think that it's just something I'm just hanging out here. And then also, are you selling these? Like, okay, so are we splitting the profit of these? Like, the people don't, it's a weird thing to understand you need art, but not understand the value of it, or understand that it's something that you have to pay for.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing.
They do, they're just trying to blow smoke.
Yeah. That's true.
I feel like they do, because if it's real quick, why don't they just do it?
That's true. That is
I
true.
mean, there's Canva now. You can do it real quick yourself if you like.
Yeah, like go ahead. That's it. Should be real simple. It's like you can do it yourself.
I like how you said it. I like your accent
right.
too, better than mine. You can do it real quick.
Yeah.
Yes.
It has the same energy of let me hold $1, let me hold $20.
Just tacky.
You give out the same energy.
Let me hold some. Let me hold some from
Let me hold the money. Let me hold some. Oh my gosh.
many times.
Yeah. But I feel like there needs to be a level of seriousness brought more into for Black artists in this community. Then I think that's what it is. Showing how that like this isn't just a joke to us. And I feel but a point was made that sometimes people just never get it. So there's that too. So
not only that too, I don't think a lot of people don't know what passion looks like or feels like too. Like to put all your time into something and really work at something, it's foreign to some people. Some people don't have that. And so a lot of people don't really understand that off the gate. Because I've talked to so many, even family and friends, it's like, you spend all day drawing? Like, why? Why would you do that? Like, listen, like first off, I love doing it. Second off, it's something I'm passionate about. Something I could sit down for hours and literally paint and draw all day. A lot of people don't really understand or get that.
Well, nobody questions like basketball, NBA players while they work all day.
That's true.
Nobody questions like, most doctors while they spend like they're at work all the time. They don't question like, actual people like, but still like football players while they're, training or working out morning to the evening.
I think a lot of it is they see this as a hobby, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, like you're drawing, that's cute. I used to draw too. My little kid draws too, right? Like, I think it's that lack of knowledge that kind of incites that reaction of, oh yeah, you're gonna do this for free. Draw my mixtape.
All it really is, again, is it's the thing we were talking about before. It's the disconnect, which is they don't, like you said, they either see it as something childish, they don't have the connect. Like people, I've had conversations with people where you talk about, because I'm very keen on visuals, always have been. So I look at billboards, I look at ads, I look at like all day we're bombarded by them. And they really are powerful. They shape how we think about people. They shape how we think about ourselves. They shape how we think in terms of like our self-worth and our self-image. Visuals like are a big part of our day-to-day, right? So one of the things you think about with illustration is illustration in itself really is powerful, especially even before the photography boom. Illustration was like a big deal, right? So it's one of those things when you think about how powerful it is, like if you explain to people, it's in simple terms. It's like you go to the cereal aisle. What made you grab that cereal or that can or that purse or that whatever? What was the thing that made you grab it? It's the design. It's the visual. Like I've always said, you could have the best cereal on the shelf, but if the design of the box looks like shit, nobody's gonna pick it up. Like the power of the product in itself is that design. And I think that that's something that people really need to get used to, but it's weird to explain that to people. And it's like, they almost kind of get it and you can see their eyes dim and they just fall off into some nebulous, like sunken place where they just are like, you draw, I don't understand. Like, it's a weird thing, but they do get it. They just inherently don't want to do it. Or I've done some bigger projects where I've done like interior design for an office lobby. And then you watch and the people are like, I don't want to spend any money on it. I don't want to do this, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, well, I mean, it's your business. Like if you want people to come here and feel comfortable and safe or whatever it is, you'll redesign it. Then when they finally redesign it, they're like, oh, it feels so different. Like they can accept the feeling of it, but they would have never made the change themselves, like they just know when I walk in here, like at bare minimum, when I talk to my dad's like, I walk in here and he's like, it either feels comfortable or it doesn't. But as far as looking at the design of the place, it's just like he could be further from ever understanding any part of that. But then when you break it down and you show the before and after, it's like, oh yeah, I completely understand that this needed a redesign or it needed whatever, right? And I think that that's kind of what art is in its sense. It's like there's the nature and the capturing of that part of the initial inspiration and kind of making people feel a certain kind of way. That's the powerful part about it. And that's the part where ultimately, if you want that, you got to pay.
Right. I mean, but now I'm kind of wondering though, because I know for myself, my if packaging was so important, Captain Munch wouldn't have been all up in my house. or Cheerios and all the reject brands, those
to a degree.
Yeah.
Cereal maybe is a bad choice, but you know what I mean.
Man, Fritos is the truth, bro.
Yeah.
It's like, this is supposed to be, why is it a monkey on the front? Like, what? Why are we normalizing
This turned into a counseling session.
Yeah, like,
You need to talk, Mike?
Yes.
Mike, you need to talk?
I'm just sobbing about my
Share your
childhood
heart.
now. He's like, why did I have this?
I need it.
That boy some milk.
Household, I know that.
Who drinks cereal with
Got it,
milk?
Mike.
I wasn't given that luxury.
It is a funny thing.
Flakes with your corn flakes.
It's weird that everybody they don't realize every single thing in existence that we deal with today, somebody had to draw for it to come to fruition. So it all starts with the art, but you're right, they absolutely look at it as a hobby because they don't understand the environment. They also don't understand the value of the work being done because they underestimate, oh, it's easy, anybody can do it. It's like, please, here's a computer, here's a program, draw me. And they're like, nah. They don't understand the complexity or the value of time it takes to actually hone your craft and your skill set, because I think there's a lack of acknowledgement just because it's so readily available. Art is everywhere. And because it's so plentiful, they think, oh, well, anybody can do it. And they forget that these people are actually putting in some real time. But it's funny. I love to come up against the people who think that it's a hobby, because that's just yet again another opportunity to disprove them in the best way with the work, to disprove them in the best way with what it is. But it's also a thing where when you explain it and they finally, you can see the light go on in their eyes and like, oh, I get it. Now you have somebody who's sort of jumped on the train of being able to appreciate it for its intrinsic value. And, it's sort of a re-education process. But yeah, a lot of people don't get it. They just think you out here with doodles and stick figures trying to get by.
Forgetting about the amazing programs that you're used to.
Which
they have to face something that is tragic and destructive and unfair, like kidney failure. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to do exactly what I do. This whole thing is an opportunity for me to lead and to show them how you deal with something tragic, unfair, something that robs you of your potential and of a future, just like as a normal life. It just, this whole thing has robbed me of having a normal life completely.
It gets dark in here.
A lot of stories that you guys brought up. That's kind of why I don't do anything when to random friends that hit me up. Like a lot of times, they hit me up and say, "Hey, remember me from high school?" And it's like some jerk or dude that was like making fun of me in high school or something. Hey, you know our John or something, and like randomly he hit me up. Hey, remember me from high school? Yeah, I remember you from high school. And he was a douchebag. So I'm not gonna, I don't have anything to do with you right now.
I always just kind of just yell back at them high school, like how was it Soulja Boy said Drake? I'm like, high school.
You know what though? I think to add to this point, I think they associate artists, especially like when they're young, as like not as kind of like being introverted or the type of person that would be considered like frail or not
socially awkward,
show enough resistance to like defend off certain type of people. I think that's what they try to associate artists, especially like the younger artists. It's like elementary, middle school, stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, people ask me stuff all the time, and them the same people, they used to make fun of me for drawing in class.
Hey, you know what? I used to make money. The homies used to they used to give me money for drawing, like, you know, art projects and all that. So I'm like, hey man, that's like $20 or something.
He was hustling early.
Exactly. He was out there with the hustle.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I ain't doing this for free. But yeah, I think they associate. I think a good thing for all younger artists is like learn how to like play a sport, get big on people. They try to like, you know, get at you.
That's what I tell everyone. Like every artist should know some form of martial arts.
So what?
I'm saying every artist should know some form of martial arts, not necessarily to fight people, but
Yeah.
just to understand the human body and how things work, and then fight them.
Look badass, yeah.
You got a tablet pen, just pull a John Wick on them.
Did anyone here when they were growing up in school, did anyone think they were cool for drawing? Did anyone have that?
Hell no.
Nah.
I don't think so.
What was the question?
I said, like, when you were growing up in school, like when you drew in class, did anyone think you were cool because of that? Was that like a superpower for you guys?
Yeah.
Somewhat, yeah. I mean, there were other people I knew that drew too, but
At our high school it was, but I went to like it was a cultural mixing pot, like with our high school. So yeah, it was cool at our high school.
Also, I love your work, Dennis, but I felt the same. I just want to say, like, I was that person that actually was extremely unorthodox. I played 4 sports in school. I was like tech with the theater kids, and like I was that friend that was friends with everybody. So like the bougie kids, the anime kids, the goth kids, the ratchet kids, I guess as they call it. Like I was that person that was hopping from table to table. And I would do art on the side, but I guess that also helped me give an outside perspective of people who would see how people who were art focused would be perceived by everyone else, and the level of like social awkwardness that was tied to it for no reason. Like, but this was my senior year. Senior year, I was friends with my freshman year. I was bullied by everyone, even the weird, the outsider kids. And they ended up telling me, when I graduated, they were like, the reason why I hated you was because your art was good. And I'm like, why would you do that?
Because because.
That's super crazy. I would say I'm the same way. Like in high school, I drew a lot in class and everything, and I was always into sports. Like I was a basketball player, I was always hoop. I thought like every young boy, I thought I was gonna make it to the league or something. So like hoop was like my thing. And then like when people would see that I would draw, they would be so shocked. They're like, oh, you like comics? It's like, yeah, I don't only play basketball. I like certain stuff, and like this is my life, so it was cool to open that up to people and for them to be shocked when they seen that.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what will happen. They'll be like, oh, you're 6'2", you play basketball, why are you drawing?
Exactly.
Yeah, thanks, Melissa. I was gonna say, like, when I was in elementary school, there was like a counselor. His name was Mr. John, and he would always come to school and he was always ripped. He basically looked like Richard Roundtree, but a little bit younger, and he came in bell bottoms and stuff. And he was super cool, and he would always draw for us. You know what I mean? He would draw like Wolverine or Spider-Man. And it was like, he was just incredible. And everyone that drew in school, we could fight too, you know what I mean? So we were still like, no one like picked on us or anything like that. And we would compete with each other. And I think in middle school, it was cool too, but also I went to an art high school. So I never felt, I always hear a lot of artists say that they got picked on for like watching anime or like got beat up or whatever, but I never experienced that in the bubble that I was growing up in. It was always looked at as if it was like cool to be able to draw.
I was like, someone else said that they went to a magnet school. I was in the magnet school program pretty much, right? Elementary school all the way through high school. And I got bused out of my city right after elementary school. So I was always going to school in a different, so there was like a long bus ride. So drawing for me was literally that hour-long bus ride that it took to get to school every day. So it's like I draw like funny things. My friends would have me draw like things. We would roast people with drawing. Like there was a whole thing. It was a whole thing, and I think it was cool, but it became like you became like that kid that draws. But then as you get older, I remember the funniest thing. It's a fun story to tell now. We'd have it was me and my friend Aaron Tony. So Aaron is now really successful, works at Marvel. I've worked at Marvel. So I'll tell you guys exactly what happened, which was basically we were kind of the odd black kids, right? Like I was the one that was always drawing, super nerdy. He was always everyone called him Bruce Leroy. He was super athletic, but always like doing flips and like, doing bow staff katas and all kinds of stuff on the senior lawn. So everyone just thought he was weird. We've now since gone, I've worked at visual development at Marvel and I'm drawing, right? Aaron is, among other things, he's Anthony Mackie's stunt double. So all of the Falcon stuff, Black Panther, he's the stunt double. Like, so it's just funny. It's one of those things that when you go back and like now everyone's like, your jobs are so cool. How did you do that? And it's like, remember when you were teasing me for being weird? That's what I was doing. Like, It's kind of like, it's just a funny thing to see, but it was funny to see it specifically in that realm that we ended up in the same place doing the jobs that we were always doing or the things we were always doing. That people just couldn't figure out. And I've always just said that weirdness or that awkwardness is just you developing a personality while other people are kind of trying to fit in to whatever the norm is at the time. I think that it's a rite of passage, I think.
I think we should I want to also give my flowers to the friends who like actually supported me too. Like, or friends that would share my artwork when I was young, or would actually come to events, or actually paid for my artwork. Like you ever had like when you were young, and your friends would actually like physically like, oh, like how much like I'm paying, like would actually
support you.
Yeah, you're like, oh, like like I've literally had someone was like, I want you to design a tattoo for me, and like I gave them a price, but it's just when you're young, you're scared, like I'm overcharging, I'm undercharging, whatever, and they're like, oh no, I like whatever you want, like I understand, like artists, it's your art and how much work you put, and I was like, what? But it's your friend, like of course.
Like, you understand me, yeah.
So and I feel like those friends are what kept me drawing, because there are those people who like we were talking about, mistreat you and disrespect you for your craft, but those friends who genuinely were like, when you start open up your booth, or when you have your convention, like I'm buying all your stuff, or like or actually genuinely like commission stuff from you consistently, like those are what keep me going.
Yeah, I think I had like one friend in like high school who was really like the main reason like that led to like all the things that I do and that I am today. Like this, because we was in this art class and like we weren't really doing that, we was just chilling. But like, because I could draw, I doodle from time to time. And like the art school, like a recruiter came from the art school that I ended up going to. And so this girl that I was cool with, she was like, hey, you finna go to this school. And I was like, all right. So like I'm chilling, because really I want to go to like a regular school or whatever, just so I can like party and turn up. But that was the plan. I was trying to
Excellent. Feel it though.
But she was like, yeah, you gonna go to the school, and she's like, you gonna apply, and like she handed me like a application and everything. Like she handed one directly to me. I'm like, all right, bro. And so like because of like her supporting me, like I ended up like going to this school and like started my little doodling path that I'm on today.
Oh,
pretty dope.
It works that way. Sometimes it's just that's the way that it needs to be. I think you need, at bare minimum, it's either going to be random or someone comes into your life and changes your path, changes the path. I think that's another reason that it's really important. I think it's really important to not forget, everyone said it's cliche, not to forget where you come from, but I think it's important that once you go over that hump to remember that someone was there to change that path for you, or that directory, that trajectory. Otherwise, you could be the same as anybody else. So I think it's really important, because I think people make it sometimes and then they start looking down on other people, and they're just like, I made it out of here, why can't you? And I think that's the wrong take, because you look at it, it's been so long, you feel like you made it out, but someone, a friend that supported your business, a parent that was supportive even then when people weren't, someone helped change your trajectory for you to where you could then proceed, you know, and be successful. Whereas your other friends didn't have that one. They could have had very similar circumstances, but just that one person wasn't there, and it didn't, their trajectory didn't take off like yours. So I think it's really important to remember that, even socioeconomically, you know, to remember like, okay, I've made it out of this system now. How can I go back and help other people do the same thing? And remember that you didn't get out of there just because you're special. Because that's another thing that the system will try to tell you to a certain extent, is they start to make it seem like you're special. You're not like them. You're one of the good ones, whatever anybody wants to say. And if you buy into that, then you don't go back and actually help, and you just start to, you forget.
I don't want to like it's brown nose or kiss butt, but I'm so grateful to 9B and all the Black artists, at least on Instagram, because I most definitely wouldn't have continued or felt like there was hope for me to get into the industry if I didn't see artists that were actually in the industry, because there was a level of, I guess, like if at some point it felt like, especially like being in classes and I'm the only Black student, I felt like, oh, I guess there's really almost no hope for me to get in there, or there's no room for my style. So they're like seeing like, you know, representation matters, but knowing that there are artists that are out there that are thriving, that are talented, that I actually can look up to, makes a huge difference for me.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that. Like that was a big, you know, shock when I met Philip and then Mike today. And you guys are working at Marvel and doing the stuff that you love. And, you know, it shows that, you know, there could be Black creatives working on these amazing, you know, franchises that have been going on for years and years. And I remember in the last panel, you guys were talking about like how there's always the Norman Rockwells and all these, you know, amazing artists, but like you never see artists of color being brought to the light to show you, oh, like, you know, there's an Indian artist that can do it too, or an Asian artist that can do it too, or like an African artist that can do it too. So it's great to see. Say it again? Or was that
Oh, my fault. That was my phone, but that was my bad.
Oh, all good. But yeah, it's great to see, you know, that, like she said, you guys are thriving and doing the stuff that you love. And it's amazing that you guys put together 9B Collective to show young artists like us that this is happening, and it's happening right now.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And ultimately, yeah, it's happening, but it's happening because we're all doing it together. It's not just us. We're just only trying to provide the means for it to start. But we also know that if we kind of band together and work together, we can actually stop. We can slowly but surely build that pipeline that has been missing, that we're all saying is missing. So I think that that's been one of the most inspiring things to me. Between you know, we first started to like collaborate and work with the Concept Art Association with Rachel and Nicole. And one of their strengths, and you know, one of the things that they taught me, even that I'm still learning from them, is to just be proactive. Like, it's fine to have the conversation every once in a while with your friends where you're just like, man, this sucks. And everybody's like, yeah, it sure does. But like, do you want to have that conversation for a year, 2 years? Like, do you want to be in the same place where 5 years from now, you're still saying, man, that sucks? Or do you want to actually do something about it? And so a lot of the people that I've met that I just really respect and admire are people that are self-starters and go-getters, but they're also like people that do actionable items. Like, they're not the people that are just like, you know, politically this sucks and they don't do anything. They go out and they canvas and they say like, I believe in this, and they actually do something and they try to make a difference. And I think it's the same thing. So for us right now, we do have the means to change this. It's just about talking to people and making sure we're all trying to work together. And if we can't work together, it's like, how can we amplify your signal? How can we help you? Like, it's just trying to provide a way to where we're all trying to move in the same direction. And I think that that's something that all of you, like all of us, have within us the entire time. It's always there. You just have to decide to put it into action.
Absolutely, yeah.
I had a question that so like I've just started on my kind of art journey. I've always wanted to draw, and finally we just got sent back into lockdown recently. Finally decided to start drawing, and kind of wondering like you know, if I wanted to get serious about this, how much time I should actually be devoting to it, and at what point, like how, you know, how good or what level should your art be before you're sending it out to portfolios, and looking at mentorships and stuff like that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. I think that that's a question. I think if you put your artwork together, like, let me ask you some more questions. What is your primary, like not primary, but like, what is your interest? Is it live action, video games, animation? Like what's your focus, or what do you feel like you'd be close to doing?
I love like comic books, and I also love video games. So I don't know, I'm not really sure. Illustration, character design.
Illustration and character design. I think
Yeah.
the first thing would be, I mean, I always tell people to start by doing about 5 minutes left. Okay, so I'm gonna say the best thing that you can do, start to make work for yourself. Like, so like if you like character design, right? Start there. Try and say, cast someone, like I am going to cast Aldous Hodge, and he's a complete nerd that has a wedgie all the time, and you know, and nobody
Gotta be all that, bro. I gotta be all that.
yeah, but you know what I mean.
Urkel.
Let's give him an
King
actual
Urkel.
term. Let's give him a character. You cast Aldous and you say he's a king on a mythical planet that looks like the rainforest, and he lives up in the trees. You give yourself that assignment. Then you design that thing, right? So I think it's like, and then do a portfolio of those. Pick people, figure out the likeness, figure out a character. There's a little girl, she's gonna go on an adventure. She finds a magic locket in the attic, and it unlocks this magical world of creatures that only she can see. You have to give yourself an assignment like that, and then design around that, and then put that in your portfolio. And you can show that in a multitude of ways. Actually, I'm gonna show you guys, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second. And I'm going to show you guys a good portfolio exercise really quickly. I'll show you one of my students, Sophia, did some really great work. And I'll show you guys what she did. Give me a second.
Oh, well, Phil, while you're looking that up, I can say some things as well is you can maybe take some fundamental classes or look at some fundamentals. If you want to do character design, before you break the rules, you have to know the rules. So especially if you want to get more detail with like video games or live action, you'll need to, you know, muscles, bone structures, perspective of faces, bodies, poses, and then find some work for some artists that are inspired by it, and, you know, not trace over it, but like go over and kind of break down how you think their process was, and then redo that, and then just learn those basics, and then get into more of what Phil was talking about with, you know, get an assignment of a story for a character with those aspects, and then bringing those to life, and then adding the different props and everything to that that'll bring a character to life, and add that to your portfolio.
That's a perfect example. That's completely right. You have to give yourself a base first, and then you have to just take it slow. So you have to build it every single day. The key thing there is just the consistency, but that's a great note, because that's ultimately something too, is your foundations are going to always carry you through. So you have to build those skills while also building design skills. Design skills are super important. I think it's not just drawing and painting. You could be the best draftsman with anatomy, but then can't design. Like you have to, I think that those are the things that you need to focus on as well. But I'll show you, like if you were doing character, I'll show you like a portfolio that I found impressive. This is Sophia Johnson, and she was a character, she does character stuff. She was doing stuff in my class. So this is all of her work from my CGMA class, right? She just put it into, so I didn't tell her to do this. She did the assignments for the 8-week course, but then she put this together for herself to put in her portfolio to show her design process, which I thought was really impressive. So she redesigned Peter Pan, but did it very historically, or tried to go with the time frame, right? So during the 20s. So this is Wendy. So initially in the class, what we start with thumbnails, right? So these sketches here were her thumbnail sketches, her loose thumbnails of like, these are my ideas. Then week 2, we go into posing them and figuring out which ones you like. So this was week 1. week 2, and then this is what she ended up painting overall for the rest of the semester. So if we go here, this is like week 3, we do head studies. So she did these beautiful paintings of trying to figure out what she looks like, right? But she put all of these together with little tabs that tell you exactly what she was thinking about at every given moment, or thinking about the fabrics and the swatches and the colors. She's even got details about like, these are the things that I look for when I'm thinking about design. Like, you know, why did you put this headband? Why did you put this, you know, this little bracelet? It's like, oh, because it's something she likes to lend her mother. That design detail might not ever carry through to where the audience knows that, but the fact that you thought about it is helpful, because then when it shows is that if I give you a design detail, or if I give you a design assignment, it shows me that you're thinking and that you can deliver. So the same thing here. Here are thumbnails. Here is her going to Neverland. So she posed her in a pose, and then this is what she did for the painting, right? So you can see process. This is just a good portfolio in general to show process. Peter, she wanted him to have male and feminine energy because he's kind of trapped and perpetually a child. So she did these like albino, peacock feathers. I mean, it's really thought out, but it's like one of those things where when you read what she's doing and she's figuring it out, it's that same overall process in trying to figure out how she's going to approach the design problem. But even down to the hair studies, the expression on the face, everything, these are things that you can kind of give yourself as an assignment and try and go for it. She did some prop design where she figured out Peter's flute and had it to be where it was a detail of his mother the moment of his birth. Like, she came up with this. This is not something where I'm like, oh, you should do this. So I think it's one of those things as you go forward. You can see here is the Lost Boys, math studies, environments, pirate queen. She thought Wendy would eventually take on the attributes of being an adventurer, so she made her a pirate. She designed a sewing kit for her. These are really detailed things based on the story, but they're story development things based in character. And then she put this all together to show that her work over the semester. Now, this is something that, granted, she has shown to try to get work, which is really helpful because it shows, for me as an art director, this shows thought process. It shows like you weren't just drawing stuff, you were actually designing. So what I want to know is that when we get you to the point where you are actually working, and your art directors want to see that they can throw you a problem and that you're going to solve it. So I hope that that starts to help. But between that and what Wynn said, I think that you would have a good base for starting to gear your portfolio, and then you'll kind of know when you're ready. But you should always also have a group of people that you show your work to. You can show your work to us always. You can say like, hey, what about this? Or what do you think about this? Or how's that? I think it's just going to be a work in progress of continuing to get better every single day. And that's the true answer of it, really, is the consistency of trying to get better every day. You know.
Yes. Thank you. That's awesome.
All right, guys, I think that just about wraps it up for our drink and draw. Thanks for coming. I'm loving all these drawings I'm seeing in the chat here and the ones we've been sharing on the screen. It looks really great.
Wow.
Some more panels and stuff coming up this weekend, so feel free to join us.
Really interesting work. Yeah.
I'm trying to look through right now before we end. There's some really good
stuff.
stuff.
No, yeah. Y'all went in, I see. Okay.
Yeah, we can go through. We'll give it another few minutes and people can look through all the different ones real quick.
Wow. See, Phil and Michael and Imogen, I think I'll see all you guys tomorrow at 1, right?
Yes.
That's going to be fun.
Pump the panel. Tell them the
yeah. So as a part of Lightbox, but you can also catch it on the Gnomon stream because Gnomon's hosting these particular jams tomorrow from 1 to 2:30. Phil, Michael, Imogen, together with a few others. See, now I gotta open up my Word doc. We got a few other. We got Carla Ortiz also on that stream. Yeah, so it's gonna be a costume.
Oh boy, now we got to draw.
Costume concept jam. But I wanted to ask you guys, I was thinking of providing some options too. Like, and I also know that like with Magma, you can even like copy images and paste them into the canvas. So I could give you like, I could go find like some groups of runway models and stuff like that to like design on top of, or if you guys wanted to bring in your own assets or just draw totally from scratch, it's totally up to you, but I'll have a few things ready.
I think we should have a few things ready. I think that we've done the one where we've just started to draw and that's fun, but I also really love the ones where there's something structured to where everybody adds their own thing, like a classroom or a fashion show where everyone draws top of the people, or something where we can all kind of create our things. I saw Bobby last year. They did one where it was just a school classroom that was empty, and then they all started drawing little creatures and animals into the classroom.
Oh, that's cool.
And the funniest one was somebody drew like a porcupine kid, right? So the porcupine kid's there, but then I think Bobby or Kay or someone behind the porcupine kid, they drew a kid that looked like he was a balloon, and he looked really afraid, like he was like backing
awesome.
up away from the lake.
That's awesome. I love it.
Like it was just fun stuff like that. So I feel like it would be fun to do a collaborative thing, but we should have options, and then we can let the panelists
for sure
decide what they're gonna do. You know?
Cool. No, it should be really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think if you guys are ready to go, I think we got to get these guys some rest for tomorrow. We've got another big day tomorrow.
Yes.
But thank you all so much for coming to the drink and draw, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Allie.
I'm gonna take one quick screen grab of as many people as I can. So everyone smile at the camera real quick, and we'll go from there. You want to turn your cameras on real quick? All right, here we go. Let's see.
Should we unshare? Should we stop sharing?
Sure. You can stop sharing for now.
Everybody stop sharing for us really quickly so that we can take a bigger group photo.
Yeah, let's do that.
We got one.
Let me see if I can stop it here. Here we go. Okay. There we go.
Get my good side real quick.
All
Mike,
right.
why are you still sharing? Mike is sharing now.
Oh my goodness. Let me see.
I think Mike is gone. Is Mike still there? Okay, there we go.
There we go. There we go. All right, here we go. Count of 3. Everybody smile. 1, 2, 3. One more just in case. And 1, 2, 3. Got it. Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you all. We'll do it again. Happy Lightbox. Have fun. Enjoy yourselves.
Night, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Right.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
All right, bye.